Hey everyone, this is a 4th of July weekend, and this lake behind me is not our lake, but rather this is Granby Lake that's a few miles away from where we are. And we're here to find out how to install windows. We won't be getting windows for a while, but it's very important that we know how to, so let's get into it.
So here we are hanging out by Grand Lake, which is super nice, and that's because we're waiting to see the installation of some Panda windows at the construction site. It's not ours, but the guys had to do some prep work with scaffolding and whatnot, so we came down to hang out while they get ready.
Yeah, so our supplier, Panda Windows, they said that there was going to be an install here by Grand Lake, and we're super lucky because it was on 4th of July, which is today, and you can see all that people behind me. They came in like at 5, 6 a.m. to save their spot, to see the fireworks that are going to be like at 10 p.m., so that's a little bit crazy to me, hey, but whatever floats your boat, I guess. So anyway, that said, how did we choose Panda windows? Initially, we were looking for some windows that either had fiberglass or aluminum cladding inside and outside, because we want to have some material that's good with expansion and contraction, and it doesn't break the window over time. We very early on threw away the use of vinyl windows. We've only heard but bad things about vinyl windows, so that's why we never chose that. And so that said, we ended up choosing what's the name of that thing?
It's a decision matrix. It's pretty much a matrix where you have like your options, then you put the values that you care about, and then you give them a rating, so that way you have like a number at the end and it makes decision making.
Yeah, so in that decision matrix we had Marvin, Alpen, Weather Shield, and Panda windows. So Marvin and Alpen, both of them had fiberglass cladding, while Weather Shield and Panda, they had aluminum cladding. So we ended up throwing away Marvin initially, mainly because of cost and basically support, because when we called them, the price was super expensive for one. And another big reason why we ended up not choosing Marvin was because we absolutely had to choose a company that would install them for us. It wouldn't matter if it was like a very tiny window, they would have to install it for us, and the installation was super expensive. Then we were looking at Alpen. We had really high hopes for Alpen because they're local. We've been to their factory. We even know the CEO. We've met him. But we've heard nothing but bad things from people around here in Colorado. I hope they do fix their problems. But I hear that the windows are not square, things are breaking off, etc. So like I said, hopefully they do fix their problem. Alpen is one of those companies that are wanting to be very high performance with very low U values, like in the 0.1. So that's why it was a nice and sexy choice. Then we were looking at Weather Shield. Weather Shield, we really liked Weather Shield. We saw them at the Build Show. They had really awesome windows. That's an aluminum cladding. But we ended up walking away from them a little bit because there was like a middleman that we had to work with. Price-wise, they were acceptable and they were very competitive with our final choice. But like I said, we had a middleman that ended up slowing things down, didn't understand things as we wanted them. So that's why we didn't end up choosing Weather Shield.
Also, they had the U value that wasn't the best, and then we said, can you do any better? They didn't reply, and then when we said we went with somebody else, they like, no, but we could have done better. So
I should mention that when I first reached out to all these companies, I said, okay, we have 5 windows that we want you to install, and give us the best high performance window that you can give us. And probably because they were 5 windows, they didn't care too much. What they didn't know necessarily is that we had another 40, 50 windows behind it. So that was a good weed out process, if you will. And then Panda was very responsive, even if it was 5 windows, one window, they were very responsive. So we ended up choosing Panda. So as far as Panda windows, they're aluminum cladding. They're based in Las Vegas. They are willing to train you to install them. Their U value is competitive. It's in 0.23. So yeah, that's why we ended up choosing, and they're very beautiful. So let's go now and see how they're installing those windows. So I'm getting ready to start the day, and I just realized that I haven't told you anything about what we learned on our trip to Grand Lake, which by the way is amazingly beautiful. If you get a chance to visit it, I highly recommend it. So our goal was to go there, learn how to install windows. We didn't actually see them install any windows, and basically what we saw them do all day long was move windows around, and not only move them around, struggle moving those windows around. They are very heavy. Our windows are also big, and they are very heavy as well. So what we learned is, okay, it's not that easy. So we came back. We thought, okay, those guys seem very professional. They know what they're doing. Why don't we ask for a quote from them, and then take care of all these windows at one shot? So I got the quote back. It was $26,000, and to be honest, it's not an unfair price. We have 40 windows. If you divide that price by the 40, it's about $600 per window. And we had gotten other windows quote installations, and it's about the same price. So it's not an unfair price at all. They are a crew of 5 guys. They travel all over the country. They stay in a hotel. They have that little cool cart that's if you want to buy it for new, it's actually $36,000. We looked into it. So yeah, it's a fair price, let's say. But it's too much. $26,000 is the price of a small Civic, brand new, right? So we thought, okay, maybe we can do better if we can install it ourselves. And why don't we take that $26,000 as a budget, let's say? Worst case scenario, we know it's $26,000, right? So like I said, we looked at purchasing that little cart. That's $36,000, so that's out of the question. Plus shipping and handling and whatever. Then we said, okay, why don't we rent it? And we found it in Arizona with these awesome guys. They gave us amazing service for $3,000 for a whole month, which is amazing. The problem was the delivery and the pickup. When you add those costs up, we end up with $7,000. And when you rent something, it's, I don't know, you kind of lose it, right? So we kept thinking, and then Marcela found these cool lifts. They're not electric or engine based. You have to push it, and their name is QuattroLifts, and we're going to be talking significantly about that, so I'll just mention it for now. And those guys ended up being about $6,000 for a new cart, and we contacted them. They're giving us a good discount for social media, I'll be honest about it, and so we decided to take that path. So in addition to doing that, actually, we said, okay, we have this budget that I mentioned, $26,000. Why don't we also take a trip to Las Vegas, go to the Panda factory, look at their windows, talk to them directly as to how we should install them. So that's what we're planning to do. And that's also not very expensive, maybe $1,000 trip to Las Vegas. That's a vacation work kind of thing. So yep, we're going to be installing the windows ourselves. And like I said, windows are very heavy, so we got these vacuum suction cups that those guys actually recommended to us. Their name is WPG.com, and each of these can lift up to 250 pounds. So yeah, we're gonna try to do it ourselves. So let's keep our fingers crossed.
So we are getting ready to install the Windows extensions, and you know we are fire freaks, so the first thing we are doing is applying MasterFlame on the lumber. And MasterFlame, if you haven't seen it, it's pretty much like a liquid. You apply it with a roller, and we're doing it right now because for 2 reasons. It's easier to do it down here rather than climbing up there, and the other thing is that this way we have access to all sides of the lumber.
Before the video gets too far along, I want to talk briefly about why we install extensions. First off, the extensions are LSLs and they are pressure treated. That's what the CB mean. We rip these to 4 1/4, and the 4 1/4 is for a reason. That's because that's the width of our C-girts. Our C-girts will go like this and they will hold the insulation. You will see a video later on as to how that works, and I'll also talk about how we do the fastening.
Because we decided to do the work ourselves instead of paying $26,000, we're using that as our budget, and we're using part of that money to go to Las Vegas. Panda Windows were super nice. They invited us to their factory to see how to install their windows. So let's go. Hey, we made it to Las Vegas. We're super excited. We are at the Panda Windows factory. We came to see our windows, and who knows, we might get a tour of the factory.
Well, we just got out of the factory floor and we got a nice chance to look at all of our windows. They are working on the last 3 and they're getting ready to ship them basically. It's really more of a factory environment, so if you've seen a factory, it's effectively the same that's going on in there. But mostly we spend our time trying to figure out how to install the windows, the best practices and all of that stuff. So we'll be showing you that for sure once we install them. Since we're here, we might as well take advantage of showing you what they have on the showroom, a few things that we like. So follow me, and by the way, we're not sponsored, but we could be. So check out this screen. It's basically a cassette screen. Whoop. So this is very nice for opening, having your doors open and having a screen where we live in the mountains. In the summer, there's a bunch of insects and stuff, so this will be very nice to have them closed. Up here. This is most likely the door that we're going to be using for the ascent area. Obviously, this is too tall. Our door is about 8 or 9 feet tall, and that's the finish. Another cool thing that they have, as you might have seen as I was coming out, they have the aluminum doors with a insulated core, so it makes for a very, very strong doors. They showed us this handle. This handle has biometrics, code, key, whatever you can think of. It actually has a built-in camera as well, so it's super awesome. We really like it. We might like it until we see the price of it, but until then, we're thinking of using it. And yeah, so finally, like I was saying, the cores are very awesome. See all the locks and stuff. When the door is over 9 feet tall, they add at least a couple to give it strength. But yeah, the doors are awesome. And with that, I think we're done with our trip in Colorado. In Las Vegas, it's been very successful. So let's go back to Colorado and let's keep working on those windows. So we got our windows, as you can see, Panda windows. They arrived, we've opened them, they all look pretty good, but they are very heavy. And also because of that is that we got this telehandler from Sunbelt. We rented it for a day. So it was a requirement to have a forklift to offload the windows of the truck. So we decided to also extend the rental for a week so that it could help us do other things. So for example, some of the windows are very, very heavy, so it helped us move them to the second story. It also helped us move a very, very heavy door down to the basement. And with that, we had met our goals, you could say. So what we decided to do is we built a little platform in here. I don't know, OSHA, is this safe? I don't know. But this helped us move to the very, very difficult areas in the house. And we took care of the weather barrier, all the waterproofing, everything that we could from this side of the house. And so yeah, with that, I think it was awesome. We highly recommend it. So it's time to install some windows.
Our $26,000 budget is huge, so we decided to make some investments in equipment. And if you remember, we were looking to rent one of those carts, like a robot that has the suction cups and can move the windows around, but they were extremely expensive, and the rental was $3,000, but with shipping to Colorado, it was around $6,000. That's a ton of money, and we were limited to just the time of the rental. So I decided to look for other options, and I found this beautiful guy, and I'm totally in love with it. So this one is from QuattroLifts, and this is the top of the line model. So this one can hold up to 440 pounds or around 200 kilograms. It's a 440S or 200S. And it's amazing, honestly. I'm very happy with this one versus the robot that we were going to rent, because you can disassemble this guy and just take it up or down to the other floors, and it's a little bit heavy, but between two people you can do it. Now, this one was around $6,000. QuattroLifts was kind enough to give us a discount to mention them in social media, but I honestly love the card. We're not sponsored, we just got the discount from them. We still paid a lot of money for this device, but I think it's a great investment. Now, I mentioned this is the top of the line because we have very big windows, and even these windows right here, we can carry them with this cart. There's only 2 windows that are above the weight limit of 440 pounds. So it was a great investment. The other items we purchased were this cart. I call it the Lowe's cart, and it was pretty handy to put windows in here and just move them around. And this was about $200 or $250 on Amazon. It's pretty affordable. The other items, this one you can absolutely not live without. It's a suction cup. This is the largest model we could find, and it's 250. It can hold up to 250 pounds. We purchased one of these for each person on our crew. And the other items we purchased were these awesome ramps. So these ones are for ADA, so wheelchair accessible. They can hold up to 600 pounds each. And these were pretty handy because sometimes you have materials on the floor, you can put them, and our cart actually fits in here. So you can jump through the materials, you don't have to be moving things around. So overall, with all the things we have purchased, and even with the trip to Vegas, we are under $10,000, and all of this equipment, we get to keep it. So for future houses, we can use it for windows, and some of these things you can even use them, let's say, for large format tile. We can use the cart and the suction cups, and of course, all of these for moving things around. So we are pretty happy with our purchases.
We have received our windows. We are in the process of installing them. They are Panda windows and doors. We like them very much. They look very great quality. The glass is very strong. In fact, all windows are tempered. So come, take a look. This is aluminum cladding. If I didn't mention, you can see 3 channels right here. This is aluminum, this is plastic, and this is aluminum. So this is what does the weather barrier, or the U. This is where you get your U value. This is the airspace between the double pane. By the way, the glass is tempered. This aluminum, plastic aluminum. And what we learned when we went to Las Vegas is they ship you these aluminum plates, I guess. And you can see all these little holes right here. They typically, well, notice how they line up with the aluminum channels right here and right here. They do say that you can just put 2 of them, but you have the option to put 4. The recommended screw for that situation is to use a size 8, 3/4 inch screw. And this is a self-tapping metal to metal. So basically this goes on these sides, and then that fastens to the window. But before I continue, I should mention that we are using sash cos through the roof. So we're putting a little bit where the screw is going to be. That way we can seal it. I highly recommend this sealant. It's amazing. It's from the same family as Big Stretch. But its most closest relative is Lexel, which is also clear. They are almost the same. I believe this has more to prevent UV or something, but this is amazing sealants. I recommend them highly. Cool. So we put a couple beads of through the roof, we fasten it, and then they said, Panda windows, they said you can basically use any fastener that you want to attach to the wall, and you have these 2 holes right here, and that's basically where we're going to be attaching to the wall. What I'm using is these 3-inch Simpson SDWS screws. They're the same family as the ones we use for the extensions, except they're just much smaller. So finally, they did say you can put maybe 2 per side of the window, none at the bottom, and then you're set. We just have one more window remaining here in the second story, but I wanted to show you the craziness of installing windows. And this is effectively what we saw when we were to Grand Lake. We just saw them building platforms. And so that's what we did right here. We have a platform out there for the stairs so that we can walk, work. And then we had to build a platform on top of the platform so that we could just install this window. So the plan is we'll finish this window 100% with ceiling and everything, and then we'll remove this platform. So yep, that's part of the job, so let's carry on. Once the windows are installed in the roof opening, what we end up doing with the little plates is that we put plastic shims. This is kind of interesting, and I think it's a great idea. This was a recommendation from Panda Windows that we use plastic shims, not wooden shims. And they didn't actually say why, but I think the reason is because of expansion and contraction. We've installed many doors with wooden shims, and as soon as the weather changes, the door starts behaving a little bit different. So I think that's the reason for that, and I think it's a great idea, so we're going to be using them from now into the future. Okay, cool. So once the window is in the roof opening, we basically shim, we center it, and then we shim it to place, and then we screw it. Once the windows are fully screwed, we use an oscillating tool to cut the shims to size. Very, very important. Never point the oscillating tool towards the window. And I say this from experience because when I was removing this, I actually nicked the window a little bit, so I never did it again. Always go perpendicular to the window and you should be fine. And with that, yeah, we're good to go. We are down to the last easy window, and before we continue, I want to show you how we are setting up our window sills. First off, let's take a look right here. You can see that we have a piece of a 2x that actually we ripped to size. The size of this is 4 inches. And the reason for this is because we have exterior insulation, and this is effectively where our siding is going to be. You will get to see this in a future episode for sure. Then what we have here is our 2x6, and then there's a little piece of 1/2 inch or 7/16 zip sheeting. So all this little kind of assembly causes a little bit of trouble. So what we end up doing first is on our window sill, we put a piece of zip sheeting that basically runs from end to end. And I'm only talking about the very bottom of it. This has two purposes actually. The first purpose is it has a weather barrier, so that's very beneficial. And then the second purpose, and that's the main purpose, is that it adds strength to the window sill. So basically you can stand on it and it feels like a continuous platform. Once we have our piece of zip sheeting, which by the way we level everything very carefully because the windows need to be perfectly level, otherwise they won't fit on the roof opening. Or if you have an operable window, they are very, very sensitive. They need to be like perfectly level to the 1/16 of an inch. If they're not perfectly level, they will have a difficult time opening and closing. Okay, cool. So let's continue. So here on the 2x6 cavity, we are adding 3/4 inch advantage of floor, and all these numbers are on purpose. The purpose of this advantage of floor is to act as a back dam, meaning this is a little bit taller than up front right here. So if any water were to get in, or if any water were to get pushed, it would have a difficult time jumping this little, basically 1/8 of an inch or something. So that's the purpose of the back dam, and it's kind of in the name. And then what you see up front right here is our bevel siding. And the purpose of this bevel siding is such that if any water were to get onto it, it can basically drip off. So this is our assembly. And with that said, I'm going to hand you off to Marcela, and she's going to show you how we do the taping.
For our weather barrier, we like to continue with a zip system. So for the seal, we like to use a stretch tape. If you're not familiar with stretch tape, it's a tape that it's more expensive than the other ones, but it's super stretchy. So when you get to the corners, it saves you some time and labor, and it makes an awesome job. The way I like to apply it, it has this folding here that lets you know how much it needs to go down. And what I like to do is I find the center of my tape, and very carefully, I cut this flat with the paper, of course, making sure I don't perforate the tape. And then this way, I just align the center with the center of my window, and then I just start applying it. In my case, I'm a bit exaggerated, so I like to draw this line to make sure that I'm going straight when I apply the tape. And when I get to the end, I make sure that I have at least 6 inches going up. Now, when you apply tape, the recommended method is following shingle style. So I'm not doing it right here. The weather was really rough, so I wanted to make progress. But what I am going to do is, once I have this one installed, I'm going to come with my other zip tape, and I'm going to apply it like so, following shingle style, making sure that I have at least 3 inches of overlap right here.
We're down to installing the last extensions, and I need to show you how we're doing this. I've shown this before. First, check this out. Here we have a spacing of 3 inches on every edge, and I'm inserting these brown screws. They are Simpson, they are 6 inches and 0.22 in diameter. And then I'm actually alternating with GRKs, these gold ones or tin ones. And the reason I'm doing that is because these guys are cheaper. And because this spacing is 8 inches, I think it might be a little bit excessive. So that's why I'm alternating between a cheaper version than the other. By the way, these guys have different characteristics than the Simpsons. The GRKs have the capability of bending, which is a nice feature. And I've tried to bend the Simpson ones, and it's very, very hard. So they're very, very strong. They're my favorite, to be honest. Next, you might see that I have them already pre-inserted. Note that they are going to end up having an embedment of about 3 inches, 2 to 3 inches. The length of these screws, both of them are 6 inches. So real quick, here's the Simpson box, the SDWS timber screw, both structural. And then here's the box. I get this in bulk for the GRKs, 5/16 by 6 inches on the GRKs. Finally, I need to show you this super cool extension. I haven't shown it before, and we use it all the time. First off, I got this extension for the impact driver on Amazon, and they're like very, very cheap. And I absolutely love them and highly recommend them to use.
With the windows installed, we are now on the second from the last step, which is going to be install bucket rod. If you're not familiar with it, it's closed self-fold, and it compresses a little bit. So you insert it in the cavity, you are looking for a snug fit, and then you are pretty much achieving some air sealing. We are doing it from the inside and from the outside, which might be a little bit overkill, but we want to have a very airtight sealing here. So let's take care of this one, and then I'll show you the last step. So we are now down to the last step for the air sealing, laying Lexel on the perimeter of the window. And we love it because right now we are at -5 Celsius, that's about 20 Fahrenheit. No problem, we can use Lexel. The application range is from -18 Celsius or 0 Fahrenheit. So for zone 7, this works great. Now, the way we're going to do this is we are going to apply a bit on this side first. So we're sealing the bucket rod to the framing. And then on the other side, the bucket rod to the window, and then one in the middle. So that way you end up with a bridge that can stretch. And by the way, we learned this on Sashko Zero Failures. So if you have not heard about it, check it out. They do it about twice a year. And the big boss Les, who is awesome, teaches you all you need to know about sealants. So that's what we're going to do. Now, we're doing it on both sides and the top, from the inside and the outside. For the bottom part, we just had a very interesting debate. So we decided that we're going to seal here from the outside. And the reason for that is that this is a true Jamb installation, so we get a lot of snow accumulated in here. And it's almost certain that at some point when it melts, it's going to get water under the window. So that's why we decided to seal from the outside. However, we're going to leave it open from the inside, so if any water ever gets in, it can dry to the inside. So that's what we're going to do on this window.
Well, we'd be done with this episode if it wasn't for the fact that we're all snowed out. Winter is here. We're right now at about 20 degrees Fahrenheit. The reason we haven't finished is these 4 windows down here, so come. These 4 windows down here, we actually have 6 windows installed, but those would be these ones down here, but these are a piece of cake. I wouldn't even count them. But these windows up here, they're the heaviest, so we will need some help from some people. Hopefully we'll be able to finish this soon. Wow, can you believe it? We're still in the middle of winter, but we got a super nice heat wave, and we decided to finish all the windows in the house by default this episode. But first, come in here. This is the vision of the architect. As you walk into the house, everything opens up. So we have finally realized that vision, and so we couldn't be any happier. This episode has been going forever, and that said, I don't really want to talk too much because it's been going forever. Just real quick, this guy, our QuattroLift little cart, has been amazing. If we had paid guys, we probably would have paid more money in guys than this little guy, and this never complains. He can work at midnight, all that kind of stuff. So it's amazing. I highly recommend it. Contact Chip for more information on this guy. And finally, Marcela had one final last tip related to the windows. So when you put the suckers onto the windows, they leave a little circle. Her advice is to clean that circle right away, because if you let it be for a little while, it'll just stay there and it'll be harder to remove. So with that, let's finish this episode. We're very excited, and please consider liking and subscribing, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.